are in the home studio of Pat Fairhead, painter extraordinaire. I have the pleasure of being invited here today to talk with her about her work and how it all happens. And of course you work in several media.
Yes, I do.
Watercolor. Do you use gouache ever? Do you?
I don't like gouache. It's opaque.
Yes.
And I like transparency. I think that transparent watercolor on rag paper is the most beautiful kind of painting there is.
Yes.
Of course, I'm not prejudiced.
No.
And I work mostly in watercolor.
Yes.
But I do. I've used the others. I've used oil wash and thick oil, and I've used acrylic in many ways. But there isn't anything that's quite so exhaustingly extraordinary, time-consuming, anything you can think of. I always find something new.
Yeah.
Well, we mentioned, we talk about the Arctic, and I love the Arctic. I've been 9 times. And we talk about light and color. And the light and the color on reflected ice is probably one of the most exciting things to look at.
Yes.
And often at night I would get up and if it's on a ship, on the deck, and just look at the water and the sky. But walking on the land and feeling that lovely spongy underneath your feet. And every so often I have felt such a calm, quiet peace within myself that I guess that's part of why I need to go again and again and again.
And then you're like a sponge too, because you're absorbing all that color and light and silence. And
I think one of the most delicious times is to sit on something soft with a sketchbook and with the sun on my back and just say, I may be the only person that has ever been in this particular spot.
Oh, extraordinary.
And that's the sense of quiet. And then Newfoundland is a place I love very much. Been a lot of times, been with friends, usually with friends. I don't travel on rocky wild shores by myself anymore. And last summer, the East Coast, a friend and I went for 2 weeks and drive around and walk. And we walked to this beautiful silver beach. The sand was just pure silver. And in the distance was a rock. I'll show you the beach. It's right here. This is the silver beach.
Oh, look at that. The sand is silver too.
Yes.
Oh.
And in the background is a rock. So I went closer, and it is black as hell.
Like basalt
and
or
I
something.
guess it was at least 150 feet high.
Oh.
And I was so excited. You know, I see something and the light catches something, and I get so excited, get the camera out and shoot off, 1, 2, 3 as fast as I can. Took this back to the studio, and what am I going to do? How do you paint 150 feet of black? So I made a quick sketch, and the basic rock, the water, the section of this rock was almost sliced with some rock there.
So all the elements are there.
All
but
the elements
the
are
rock
there.
even goes beyond the edge of the drawing.
Well, that's just the way I draw.
So imposing.
So I will try a prep sketch, a small sketch in watercolor to see what it looks like. So I did it, and it's just plain awful.
You think so?
Well, you would never know that rock was 150 feet high. This square of white hasn't anything to do with the composition. And so what am I going to do with it? So I just picked up my sketchbook, picked up my watercolor brush, And I did that. I put the black down the side.
Of course.
There's
Suddenly
some
it's obvious.
intuitive, whatever it is that goes on inside a painter. I put it down the side. Okay, try a prep sketch.
So that was,
Well, I quite like it. I've never done anything like this before. I've never put a black down the side like that. So I liked it. So is that going to work on a big sheet? Well, go for it. That's all there is to it, is go for it.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
And I'm quite pleased, actually.
How do you feel about having a room full of your work at this stage? Do you see, is it retrospective? Are you actually, yes, so are you seeing stages in your development as you walk around a room?
Well, I've just had a big retrospective, and we had to choose. I could only hang about 35 pieces, and I have this is my life's work. There are 2,000 pieces here.
I believe it.
So it took quite some time. It took a couple of months with a curator. What I found, which I was quite surprised, was that the strength of the color 40, 50 years ago is almost as rich as I'm painting now.
Oh, thank goodness. How wonderful.
That, and the other thing that surprised me was that the lessons, the lectures in the relationship of space that I learned from Frank Carmichael. Well, you know I'm 90, he was my teacher. And he taught the relationship of space. And that is exactly what I'm doing
That's what
here.
you're doing here. And the echoes of his voice are there all the
through.
time.
Right
Yes,
through.
how
And
wonderful.
so that has come all the way through my life, is Carmichael's lectures.